Welcome back to the channel. We're at the end of 2020 and it's time for a bike check. For this bike check, I wanted to go over the 4 bikes that are my primary rides and the ones that have got probably the most use over this last year. First up is my Richie Ascent. I got this one originally at the Salt Lake Bicycle Collective, built it up as a rat bike, and then felt like it deserved something a little more. I put on Paul components, levers, and cantilevers in the front. We have a U-brake on the bottom that I wasn't able to swap out with anything new or special. I set it up also with some old Richie Logic cranks with a wolf tooth 38 tooth oval chainring that has just been really awesome paired with the Advent X rear derailleur. With that 10-speed Advent X, I'm also running the Paul's Thummy with a micro shift 10-speed thumb shifter, and it's been awesome to ride with that. It has that old school feel without being too old school. I'm also really love the Breeze and Angel height right dropper post. It's been really cool. It has a real nice retro flair to it. It's a great way to have a dropper seat post on an old school bike. And I've topped it off with the Flight saddle and Ori grips that are just hard to beat. Next up is my 94 Kona Explosive. This is the first real full restoration bike build that I did. On this build, it was the first time I used sprayed up bike paint. And I ordered some decals from someone in the UK for this, and they were okay, but they aren't as good as the ones that I've gotten at VeloCal since. And they're starting to peel in places and have come up, and I've learned quite a bit since doing this bike with the paint and with sprayed up bike paint that I'm thinking of redoing it. The Explosive frame is a super light steel frame weighing just a little over 4 pounds and was a really great base for this build. That said, I'm running a Reba RL fork on the front with 100 millimeters of travel, and I feel like it's over forked the bike just slightly. This bike was probably built for a 60 to 80 millimeter fork originally. It makes it a little squirrely up front, and I think I could solve that actually by widening the bars. I'm running 720 millimeter bars, and I think if I was running it at 760 or 780, that may help with it a bit. It would bring me a little forward more onto the bike and onto that fork, and it would probably compensate for that squirreliness up front. That said, it's been an awesome build and an awesome ride. I really like the Cobalt wheels. I really like the disc brake mount. It was the first time I welded a disc brake mount on the back of a bike, and it turned out really well, super smooth, and has been a super fun bike to ride this last year. But like I said, I am thinking of redoing the paint on it and redoing the decals with something a little more permanent, similar to what I just did on the Kona Cinder Cone. Next up is my Voodoo Hoodoo. This has truly become my favorite bike that I've built so far on this channel. There's a lot of things that really ended up just top-notch on this. I really love, first off, how the frame turned out with the steel bluing, and the bluing that I actually let sit for overnight before I cleaned off, which gave it, instead of that blue look, it gave it more of a brown. It let it rust just a little bit before I did the clear coat. I was worried also on this bike about the clear coat over the bluing. I was worried, since I didn't have a primer, that it would start to flake or come off really easily. I've taken it on several rides now, and that clear coat is doing just fine without the primer straight onto the steel frame. It's probably not the most durable still, but it's been pretty good, and I'm really impressed with how well it's held up. And it's a beautiful bike. I love all the purple bits, the Paul's component clampers. Those are just awesome. The feel of them, the modulation that you get out of them is just incredible with the Love cantilever levers that I've got on it. It's been awesome. It was fun also to do Some of the parts anodized myself, the race face cranks and the stem. The Brooks Cadmium C17 saddle has also become one of my favorites. I know saddles are a personalized thing. I've found that the C17 is a perfect fit for me. I love the stiffness while also being soft enough on some of those long rides. It's just been awesome. One of the pleasant surprises about this bike was a comparison I make between this and my Kona Explosive. Both 26-inch bikes, both old school steel. This Voodoo Hoodoo, though, was designed for a 100mm fork. At least that's what I think, because the way it feels with this 100mm Reba is perfectly balanced. It feels really, really good in the climbs and really stable on the descents. I think also having the 780mm handlebars and a short stem have made part of that difference, but I think a big part of it is that this slightly later 90s frame was designed for a slightly bigger fork than my Kona Explosive. And with that, this bike is perfectly balanced. It is now my preferred ride. I ride it much more than the Gary Fisher Paragon, which is a 29er, a much newer bike from 2009. And I couldn't be happier with how this Voodoo Hoodoo has turned out. Last up is my 2009 Gary Fisher Paragon. This is a bike that I've been sharing with my oldest son, and I built up with him. This paint job was one that we took a lot of time on, and I feel like turned out one of the best paint jobs that I've done. It was an easier one also, but doing the fade is just something that I think was a lot of fun to do with him and turned out really great. And the durability has been really good on this. Now, some of the things that I've really loved about this is the first time I had used Magura brakes, and the contrast that I saw between the Magura MT8s and my other Shimano hydraulic brakes was significant. I loved the modulation that I felt, and these Magura MT8s are really, really top-notch XC race brakes. My goal with this bike was to build an XC race bike and to do the best I could with used and new parts. I really love the way it turned out. I love the Sid World Cup fork up front. The Magura MT8 Raceline brakes are just beautiful and perfectly fit this bike. It's been a really fun bike to ride and really fits my riding style and my riding preference, which is a preference towards cross-country race-style mountain bikes. It was a fun build. It was really fun to do with my son, and it's been great to see him enjoy it also. And that wraps up my bike check today. Thank you for following along. Thank you for all of your support over the last couple years with my channel. It's really been a pleasure to share with you my love of restoring things and my love of restoring these old bikes. So, if you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe. Be sure to check out some of my other videos if you haven't seen some of these bikes. There's videos for all of them and more on the channel. And as always, look for opportunities to give those old things new life, and I will see you on the next video. Ciao.